Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. There was breaking news today that Malik Mustafa suffered an ACL injury in the 49ers final game of the 2024 season. He was cleated in his knee, and apparently it damaged the ACL repair that he had had in 2022. So he originally hurt his ACL, had surgery on it when he was at Wake Forest, 2022, January. He actually recovered fast enough that he could play 10 games the following year. So, Malik Mustafa, quick healer, but he is going to miss some time. Kind of chatted with him a little bit via text, and he thinks it's crazy that he would miss half a season. So, I do think that he is a quick healer, but I know the 49ers are going to be careful with him to make sure that he is not coming back too early. I think sometimes when guys get things done in college, sometimes they don't have the best access to the top surgeons like they do in the NFL. So there is a little risk when guys get hurt in college that they aren't getting, if they're not at a premier program. So I would say that, if you're at the SEC schools, if you're at Alabama, if you're at Ohio State, or any of the major schools, you are going to get those top tier surgeons that take care of your major surgeries. For those smaller schools like Wake Forest, I'm not sure that everybody that has an ACL injury at Wake Forest gets Dr. Neil El Atrache. So, I think Nick Bosa had a core injury when he was at Ohio State. I know he had the best surgeon available, guy who works on NFL players. I think when you're at a smaller school, it doesn't always work that way. So, yes, again, for those of you just joining, Malik Mustafa will miss some time, but I saw him at the local pro day, and he was walking around, no crutches, not limping, walking around. He was actually playing with the team's dog. I don't know what the Frenchie. So he was walking around playing with the dog, and he seemed fine. Didn't seem to have any limp or anything. Like, he was not acting in a way at all where it made me question his health. So I think he's probably going to be fine soon. But obviously the 49ers are going to take good care of him, and they're going to make sure that he stays healthy enough to return healthily. So the injury happened, his original injury happened in January 2022. And then the final game versus Arizona, he went for a tackle and came up kind of gimpy, and he left the game early. So he didn't even finish the full game. Afterwards in the locker room, he appeared fine. And he actually himself thought that he didn't have an injury. Later, an MRI showed that it is a tear in his ACL. I'm not sure whether it's a full tear or a partial tear, but it was a tear enough that he had to have surgery. So whether it was partial or a full tear, not really, doesn't really matter at this point, because he did have surgery on it. So he will be, he's recovering now. He's going through the rehab process. It is a secret that the 49ers kept for several months. I do think that part of the secrecy was because they didn't want to reveal anything about their draft board, the fact that they might need a safety in the draft, which they did draft a safety. So I have a feeling that might be part of the reason that they didn't want it out there. They did draft safety, or Marquise Siegel. He was pick number 160, round number 5. So 5th round picks have been good for the 49ers. So Malik Mustafa will miss the beginning part of the season because of the ACL tear, whether it was partial, whether it was full, but he is going to miss some time. So outside of that, the 49ers did have a very productive 3 days. They picked 11 players. I didn't think they were going to pick all 11. I figured they were going to maybe trade up or trade down, get some picks later, or move up to consolidate some of the picks, but they got all 7 picks. And I think they really needed all of them. And I know there's a lot of question why it was all defense at the beginning. And really, if you look at it, it's because of the losses that they had during free agency. They really needed help on the defensive line. And I know I've been saying this for months at this point. After they went through free agency, I was like, they're not going to pick an offensive lineman in the first few rounds. I just didn't think so. And they didn't. They went 5 defensive picks in a row, 1 through 5. And the last time they did that was 1981. 1981 was a good year. It was the year they won their first Super Bowl. So, everybody's hoping that it's the same outcome after drafting so many defensive players. So it wasn't just the first 5 picks. All right, so we can go through them if you'd like. The 49ers really needed to really fortify their defense. All right, round 1. It was pick number 11, Mike Williams. He's a guy that is going to be a day 1 starter. He is going to learn from Chris Kasiarek. He is going to learn from Robert Saleh. He is a guy that they targeted last summer. And while he had an ankle injury and didn't play that well this season, I mean, he played well, but not that well. I think that helped them because Kyle Shanahan didn't think they were going to be able to get him. A lot of John Lynch didn't think they were going to be able to get him. But he is a guy that they wanted since last year in summer. Scouts went and saw him play games. They met him. They watched him work out. He played with the bad ankle. They thought that was a true sign of his toughness, the fact that he wanted to play for his teammates. So that was their first pick. Round 2 is pick number 43. That was defensive tackle Alfred Collins. He is a ginormous human being. He is the same height as Malik Williams and 55 pounds heavier. He is a ginormous human being who is going to stuff the middle of the line. They had issues stopping the run last year. They should not have as much problem this year with Malik Williams and Alfred Collins. All right, so that was their second pick. Third pick, number 75, pick number 75, that's round 3, linebacker Nick Martin. This is a guy who worships Fred Warner, loves Fred Warner, wants to play like him, is ready to soak up all the knowledge. I actually spoke to him at the NFL Combine, and he told me that Fred Warner's jersey is the only jersey he owns of any NFL player. I'm still trying to get him to send me a picture of him with it. I've texted with him, and hopefully we get it at some point. Would love to see his photo of Fred Warner's jersey. Round 3, pick 100, cornerback Upton Stout. This is a guy who is only 5'9", 181 pounds, but he plays, as the coaches say, with a heart of a lion. He is fast. He is fearless. He goes in and hits people. He makes sure that no one gets past him. He can sometimes overreach, like overreact, and doesn't always hit on target, but man, the effort is always there. And just talking to him throughout the post once he got drafted, his little video interview, he was going a mile a minute. He was talking so fast. He is so excited. And if you haven't watched his call with Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and Jed York, definitely go check that out. It's on the 49ers website. Hilarious. He kept calling everybody coach. Let's do it. Let's do it. Really fun personality. And, this is a youth movement. And Matt Maiocco and I talked about how calm, which it shouldn't be, training camp was last year. This youth movement is going to make training camp a lot more feisty. That's a word that I think would describe Upton Stout, feisty. He's going to be a fun one to watch. Let's see what we've got here. Last game, last season. Yes, that is when Malik Mustafa had the injury. Last game, last season. I know. Yes, when he called Jed coach over and over again, Jed seemed a little bit awkward about it. It was kind of funny. But yes, Upton Stout, I think, is going to be an instantaneous contributor. I think he's going to be someone who lays the wood, so to speak, on other players. CJ West, their 5th pick, number 113, pick 113. Man, he is a fun guy. He said, he's like, I love it when the violence comes. I love getting after centers, slapping them in the face, getting in their face, getting down and dirty. That's what Upton Stout said. He loves getting his nose dirty. He loves being in there. This is a good group of defensive players. I think they're going to be fun to watch. I think training camp is going to be completely more exciting than it was last year. I think they needed this youth. They needed guys to come in and have energy and be ready and to like be ready to soak up all the knowledge that they can get from all these veteran players. I think it's really going to be a good thing. Let's see here. We ignored O-line again. Well, they got one offensive lineman. They picked up Connor Colby. He's a guard out of Iowa. George Kittle, huge fan of him already. He follows him on social media. I didn't think they were going to go offensive line for the first several picks because there was such a need on defense. I mean, yes, I know there have been issues with it, but when Trent Williams is healthy, when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, it changes the whole way the offensive line looks. I mean, in 2023, no one's complaining about the offensive line, right? I don't know that Aaron Banks or, I don't think that he made that much of a difference with his departure that we needed to get a first round talent or second round talent at left guard. I don't think so. I think they've got it kind of under wraps. And I think that Connor Colby will be a guy that they develop and they bring up through the ranks, and he could end up being the starting left guard eventually. But I think they've got guys like Ben Barch, Nick Zakel. I think those guys are going to compete for that left guard position. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan from the horse's mouth said, hey, we like Jake Brendel. They weren't going to draft a center. They weren't. I know everybody wants to think that, but they weren't. Dominic Pooney, I know you guys all like Dominic Pooney. He was at right guard, and Colton McKivitz at right tackle. So out of 5, only one is open. So they picked a guard late in the 7th round. But what John Lynch kind of explained is that what their needs were, and when their draft pick came up, it didn't work out. So what that's saying to me is like they may have other offensive linemen on their board, but when their pick came up, it was like that person was either gone or it was too much of a reach to get that person at that pick, right? So they had someone maybe with a 6th round pick at 5th, when they were in the 5th round choosing, they could have gotten that guy, but then they'd rather go in round 7 and get a guy that they like. They didn't have a 6th round pick, so I just didn't think they were going to do it in the first 4 rounds. I didn't. I've been saying defensive tackle, defensive end, and they did a lot of that in the draft. So let's see here. We use to win Super Bowls when you invest in our O-line. But you know what? Matt Maiocco did some research, and the teams that have taken 3 offensive linemen in the first round, they're all horrible teams. So yes, Trent Williams is a guy that you take in the first round, but he pulled up all the teams that have drafted first round offensive linemen, 3 of them, and I think one of them was Tennessee Titans, and they're the worst team. One of them was New Orleans Saints. Another one was New York Jets. And then the New York Giants had done 2. So you look at all those teams that have drafted high offensive linemen in the first round, they're not very good. So obviously the 49ers system does work. They've gotten some talented players in there. They do enough to make the offense work. And I honestly think once Christian McCaffrey is healthy, once Trent Williams is healthy, and they're both on the field together, not once they are healthy, but once they get on the field together, I think it's going to look totally different, and people aren't going to be screaming and complaining about the offensive line. I think there are a lot of other needs that they needed to address more, and that was on the defensive side of the ball. Now, especially, they needed to take a safety, considering Malik Mustafa is going to be out at the beginning of the year. So they have Jair Brown, obviously. They've got a couple other guys, but they needed to draft a safety just to make sure. So taking a look at those players again. All right, so the wide receiver, Jordan Watkins, I asked Kyle Shanahan what he thought about Jordan Watkins, and he said he runs a really great routes. He's got great hands. He's got speed. So that's what they liked about Jordan Watkins. And when we talked to him in the interview afterwards, he said, hey, I know it's going to be really tough for me to try and get on the field this year. He is like, I know I have to work hard to get it, which I think is not what was always thought of for wide receivers that came into Kyle Shanahan's system. They do need to work hard. They need to know all 3 positions, and they also need to be able to block. And he has no problem blocking, and he's got great hands, and he's ready to work. And he knows it's not going to be given to him. It's going to be a competition-based thing where he needs to compete and win the position to get on the field. Running back Jordan James. This is a fun guy. I think Jordan James is going to be fun to watch. It's a running back named Jordan. I spoke to a friend who covers the Ducks, and let me pull up what he said. He said he's a really good player. He played behind Bucky Irving, but thought he was the better back. Let's see here. He said, sneaky good pickup, great body control, runs hard, works hard, selfless. Thought he was Oregon's best back, and that's saying a lot. He said he'll be better as a pro than a college player because the Oregon system was pass first. He said there's low miles on him because of the way they used him. So he could see him being a starter for a lot of teams, and, felt like he never got to be the guy in Oregon's offense. So what they said about Jordan is that they liked him as a runner, and he's got a quick change of direction, really quick change of direction. But the thing that really stood out to them is when they all went up there for Oregon's pro day, and a big contingency went up to Oregon for the pro day, just to kind of hang out and see everybody that was up there. They saw Jordan James catch passes, and they were like, oh, he can catch passes as well, which is something that they were missing from JP Mason. I know JP Mason got the jugs machine. He was trying to learn how to be a better receiver, but he just wasn't the best route runner. Isaac Rundo is better at it, and I think Jordan James is also really good at it. All right. Their next pick at pick 260, safety Marquise Siegel. Again, because of Malik Mustafa's injury, he's going to have a chance to probably step in and get some playing time. He's very versatile. He can play corner. He can play nickel. He likes kind of being a linebacker hybrid. So we'll see what happens there. He'll probably get some time. Now, I know the next pick 227, is one that confuses everybody. I get it. It's quarterback Curtis Rourke. And I understand why people are confused. He is coming back from an ACL injury. He had a surgery. So he's the Indiana quarterback, and he's from Canada. His brother plays in, I think, the XFL. He had an incredible season at Indiana. Indiana was in the playoffs, and it was really because of the way Curtis Rourke played. He played the entire season with a torn ACL, with this huge brace on his knee. And he had torn his ACL before, so he tore it again, but he was like, I'm going to play with it, played with this really heavy brace, and with it, stayed in the pocket a little bit more, and really helped the Indiana football team have a great season. What Kyle Shanahan said about him is that he delivers the ball on time. He has great vision. He has good processing. And so also Tariq Ahmad said the same thing. They really like how he played. And so, he's a guy that probably will redshirt this year, but he's going to be on the roster. We'll see how he does. They still have, Mac Jones. They have Tanner Mordecai. So this is a guy who can sit in the quarterback's room and learn, and probably he's excited that he gets to work with Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. After that, it's Connor Colby, the guard from Iowa. That's with pick 249 in round 7. He's a guy that's going to get an opportunity to come in there and, compete for that left guard position. And if, as someone says here, Dominic Pooney gets injured for some reason or has to be out, he could step in there as well. Hopefully he catches on as quickly as Dominic Pooney does, because Dominic Pooney really is kind of unique. Let's not forget, Dominic Pooney said after rookie minicamp, he went into the video guys and said, hey, please give me every single meeting that Chris Foerster has held, any installation meeting he's had. Please put it on this iPad. And he went home and watched all those videos repeatedly, learned everything he needed to do. And also at Kansas, it was very similar outside zone run scheme. So that helped him kind of be a quick adjustment to the NFL. Final pick number 252, round 7, is Junior Bergen from Montana. He's a wide receiver, but he's really a returner. He is an unbelievable returner. He returned, I think, 8 returns for a touchdown. He has a 16.7 average return yards per return, which is ranked 3rd in I think it's the Big Sky. It's Sky West, one of those, Big Sky, I think. But right behind Eastern Washington's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was the top returner, 17 yards per return average, which is the best in that conference. He's number 3. So Junior Bergen is a guy who the new special teams coordinator targeted. I think they really thought that he's going to come in and just do the returns because he'd be a special teamer. Since Ray McLeod left, and he's the guy that they had before that did it. Jacob Cowing has been in there. We've seen Deebo Samuel be back there. We've had Kyle Juszczyk be out there for special teams, Ricky Pearsall. So I think they really wanted a return guy. And this is a specific return guy. So, all right, let's see what we have at questions. Jake Brendle's a liability. The thing is, they weren't going to use a high draft pick on a center. They just weren't. They never do. They could pick up a veteran center, but Kyle and John have said specifically, verbatim, we like Jake Brendle. They're not going to get a replacement for him. He does enough to where they feel he's successful enough to stay. And when you look at PFF is the company that grades every single team, every single center. And Jake Brendle is right in the middle of the pack. He's like ranked 15. And honestly, the whole 49ers offensive line is ranked 11 in pass protection. They are ranked number 3 in run blocking. So this offensive line, while it's much maligned by the people outside, it's a pretty decent offensive line. And Christian McCaffrey being healthy is going to make a difference, how they look, and so is Trent Williams. So I know it is the issue of many outside the building, but it is what it is. Sorry to say. The nickel position, let's see. Yes. Nickel position is going to probably go between Upton Stout is a guy who can play nickel. He can also play outside. He's been playing mostly outside, but he can play nickel. So that, I think, is their plan. Deommodore Lenoir then can stay outside. So I think that's the plan there. Yes, Junior Bergen had 8 career punt returns for a touchdown. Don't forget, for a touchdown. So, yes, let's see. Brendle is one of the most athletic centers in the league. I mean, honestly, when you compare him to everybody else, he's pretty good. So, Jordan James can get in the end zone. Yes, he had 31 touchdowns in his career at Oregon. Crazy. So he knows how to get in the end zone. And he said he just loves getting in there. That's his thing. What else do I have for you guys? If you're joining me late, Malik Mustafa did have ACL surgery. He injured it in the final game versus Arizona last year. He thought he was fine. And then a few days later, had an MRI, and it showed that the ACL injury that he had in 2022 at Wake Forest was damaged again. And so I don't think it was a full tear because he didn't feel it right away. So I think it was a partial tear, but the MRI showed that he needed surgery. So Malik Mustafa had surgery on his ACL, and he will be out for the beginning of the season. I think some people think that he's going to be out till midseason, but Malik Mustafa had surgery in January of 2022 and played 10 games that next season. So January 22, surgery. By September, probably October, to play 10 games. He was probably playing by October, which is pretty good. That's only 10 months. So if he had surgery again after the final game, so probably January, I would think maybe again October-ish, he could be healthy. So yeah, so the injury didn't happen today. It happened back in January, and it happened when he went for a tackle in the Arizona game. He came up kind of gimpy. He went to the sidelines and did not go back in the game because it's the last game of the season. They were 6-11. There was no reason to put him in there. So he stayed out, and when he was in the locker room afterwards, he was fine. Locker cleanout day, he was fine. It wasn't until after that he felt like there was something wrong. It just wasn't right. So I did see Malik Mustafa standing kind of outside the weight room during the 49ers local pro day. I saw him walking around playing with the dog, the team dog, and French bulldog. And he was fine. So I don't know that he's going to miss a whole ton of time, but he is going to miss some time. So, yeah, it's shocking that they kept it a secret for that long. The surgery was back in January. So he had surgery in January, shortly after the season was over, and it is now April. So they kept it a secret for 4 months. Generally, that's not really ethical by the team and the PR staff, but at this time of the season, they're trying to keep everything a secret because they don't want anyone to know where they're going to pick. So they didn't want anyone to know that they were going to be looking for a safety in the draft. So it happens. But still, not cool, really. They should be telling us, because it's not like we haven't talked to them. We talked to John Lynch at the Combine, talked to John Lynch at the owners' meetings a couple weeks ago, talked to Kyle Shanahan, talked to Jed York. No one said anything about Malik Mustafa. So we'll see. Let's see what else you have. Still interested to see more of Mordecai. Yeah, we'll probably see a little bit more of him this year because he'll be the number 3. So it's Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, and Tanner Mordecai. And then let's see here. Curtis Rourke will be, kind of watching from the side. But anyways, so I think that's pretty much about it. I've been on here for about 26 minutes. Do you guys have any other questions? Hope you are liking. I put all of the rookie videos. I know it's a video of a TV. It's horrible, but at least you can kind of see what the rookies are like via video. They probably have better videos on the 49ers website, but yep. Let's see. Have you ever spoken to the training staff and heard anything about their recommended off-season training? I think barefoot hiking would be huge. I haven't spoken to them exactly about what they do. Like, I don't think barefoot hiking is something that they would do, but they do a lot of conditioning. The Dustin Perry, who was just promoted to vice president of the health and training department, has specific workouts for everybody. And I could ask them what their plans are, but I know this point right now is conditioning. And so let's see. That's what I know about that. But I know that he's been promoted. They do like what he does. Also, George Kittle has reported. So George Kittle is in the building. Kyle Shanahan said he worked out with them. He was in the building. They had a good time. They had a good chat. So let's see here. I know they do a lot of conditioning. I haven't heard anything else they do. I know they're weightlifting and they're conditioning, and this goes for a couple weeks until they start doing on-field work. So, all right. What other questions do you guys have? How do you think that I do think they filled quite a few needs. It just depends on how these guys work out. I think that there's a couple players that have a lot of potential. I think the defensive linemen are going to play no matter what. They're going to be rotational players. I think Mikel Williams is going to play a lot. They really have liked him for a long time. They've liked him since last summer. So they're so happy that this guy made it. He made it to the 49ers. Excuse me. Because they were really worried. I think if he didn't have the ankle injury and he played like he played the year before this year, he would have gone a lot higher and the 49ers wouldn't have been able to draft him. So they're super excited. That it was horrible that they had the ankle injury. He had the ankle injury, but it kind of was in the 49ers' benefit. Now he's fine and he's doing much better. What are your thoughts on Alfred Collins? I think he's a really, really good run stopper. He can be playing defensive tackle right on the 1 tech. He can also play a little bit outside, 3 tech, but he's a huge guy, huge. 6'5", 320 pounds. I mean, you think about, what they had in the middle before, like whether it was, he's kind of, I guess, similar to that Javon Hargrave build. But Javon Hargrave wasn't 6'5". I think he was that tall. But you think about Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, like they had those guys at 6'6", 6'7", and 260 pounds. And that's kind of what Mikel Williams is like, right? Really, really tall, athletic. This guy's tall and just huge. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in. But I think the guys that they got, the defensive linemen, I just think they're going to do a really good job because they've got, plus there's so much pressure on them. Let's see here. What else do we have? Joseph, yes. So he recommending health benefits for mental fortitude, toes earth. You know who walks around with those the toe shoes? It is Keena Turner walks around because he thinks his feet feel better with that. So yeah, he does that. Keena Turner walks around with those Vibram shoes with the toes in separate things. Let's see. What's your sense of the Kittle contract situation? I think it'll get done. They want to keep Kittle to put him on the 10-year wall. He's at year 8. They are going to do whatever they need to do to keep George Kittle. And getting Luke Farrell is not to replace George Kittle. It's to add to the offensive line. And this is another reason why they didn't add to the offensive line. They added a really expensive tight end who is there to block. He's going to add to that offensive line, help block and help chip. And that'll open up things for George Kittle a little bit more. So I think that's, how that'll work out. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Old Ramp was wild when Aaron Lynch refused to go. Oh, yes. Okay. Is it even? It's gone now. But back when was it? It was Jim Tom Sula, I think, built the giant ramp, and they had guys walking up it and down it, and they were expecting them to help them with their flexibility and their ankles and the mobility. And then they had a really, really awful injury plagued year. So that didn't work out so well. Let's see. Got some value in the 7th with the Iowa boy. Yep. I think so. I think he's a guy that the 49ers will definitely give a chance to compete. Let's see. What else do we have here? You heard Shedeur Sanders wasn't getting drafted because of Dion. Is there any truth to that? Because I also heard Shiloh and Shedeur got agents, then they were friendly signed. I think there is something to be said for Shedeur and Shiloh being the sons of Deion Sanders and how vocal he was during the draft process and all the different things that come with having Shedeur Sanders on the team. Did you see the Browns draft room when they announced the pick? Everybody in there was straight face doing a golf